All right, let's take a look at different ways to use colored pencil. So I'm going to give you 6 fairly simple ways to use colored pencil. One of those is called hatching. And hatching means you're creating lines that go in a direction, often diagonal, but it could go any direction. And the farther apart they are, and the more white you let show through, the lighter the color looks, and the closer they get together, the darker they look. And you could always do hatching with several colors. You could do hatching over a color base, so I could have had a general color on here already that I colored lightly. And then I could have come in on top and I could even have come in on top of that. That's called hatching. Now cross hatching is pretty much what it sounds like. The lines are going to cross. So you've got hatching and then cross hatching going in the opposite direction. And again, the farther apart they are, the lighter it looks, the closer together, darker it looks. And you can always add other colors to it. You can work over a color base. So I don't always have to be working on white. I could decide, oh no, maybe I'll put some yellow in there first. That yellow isn't very sharp. You should always have a pencil sharpener around. So I could put some color in and work over that. That's called cross-hatching. Stippling is making little dots. So same deal. You can do little dots. Now I don't hit really hard with the pencil. Sometimes I hear people doing this. It'll break your pencil. So I'm just doing little tiny dots. The closer together I put them, the darker the color, the more it shows up, the farther apart. This is something that's really fun, again, to give texture, and these all create a texture, but to give texture over a color, I could do some stippling over it, which gives a real different textural feel to it. Creates a little bit of a sense of a shadow. You can work in different colors. So notice how these create very different feels to the colored pencil. And if you just do very light dots, not putting much color down, or I could spend a little more time with it, being very deliberate with the dots, so they really show up by mixing different colors together. So when we're looking at, in this project that we're doing right now, the formal order artwork, and I talked about creating a lot of texture and pattern with the scratch art paper, but now we're looking at that colored pencil too, and what can we do with experimenting with colored pencil and with creating texture. Now, layering. This is about blending colors together, and a nice way to layer is to work lightly with the color. So notice how I'm covering the white of the paper, but I'm also letting it's light, you can still see it through. The color darkly would look more like this. I'd have to go back and forth quite a bit, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But then I could then blend in another color. And if I color lightly with another color over top of this, here's my other color, to see it mixes it together. And I can do that with a variety of different colors. You can also do this with the colors being, like I colored lightly. I could also, and this is just me putting a little more pressure on the pencil and going back and forth. So there you have quite a bit of yellow. And I could still blend this. See how they've still blended together. So that's layering. Another one that's kind of fun with layering is taking a white and going over it, and it kind of smooths it out and gets rid of some of your pencil marks, so particularly where I colored darkly. Okay, then scumbling creates another kind of texture. So scumbling is basically a curved motion to how you use. So rather than the dots and stippling and the lines with cross hatching and hatching, I'm now doing a curved. And you can do these bigger, or you can do it very small. And again, you can do it with multiple colors. You can get them closer together. You can work on a color base, or you could color over it too. So there's that layering. And I can work on top of that also. Creates a different look and a different texture. And then finally, one I kind of did before, but just so I can highlight it, you can use colored pencils either lightly or darkly. So with any colored pencil, you can color so light. This isn't a very good colored pencil. Let's switch colors. Let's try this one. You can let more of the paper show through. That would be light. Or I go back and forth more. I color a little more darkly. And I can also even go back over that one. If I really want it dark, sometimes I switch directions because I don't want to push too hard, which is very similar to cross hatching, except I'm not even letting the lines show much anymore. And here I'm doing some of that layering. Or blending is another technique and similar to layering. So I'm blending, I'm really trying to make them look smooth. But there's light and dark. So just some possibilities of things you can do with colored pencils. And this is only 6, and you'll discover more and learn all sorts of things about what colored pencils can do.